Welcome to the Game Time in Arlington podcast. We're talking about the Texas Rangers and Dallas Mavericks here from a fan's perspective. I'm Eric Sorrentino, the baseball blogger at GameTimeInArlington.blogspot.com. You can follow me on Twitter at eSorrentino24. I'm here in Overland Park, Kansas, holding it down, and I'm going to turn it over here to my co-host in Dallas, Texas, Sam Mood. You can follow him on Twitter as well at forever_Dallas. We're going to talk Dallas Mavs basketball in this podcast. Sam, how you doing over there, man?
I'm good, bud. I'm excited. We're having a pretty damn good offseason.
You could say that. I mean, hey, we for the horrible season that the Texas Rangers are having, we got amazing news on Sunday that Chandler Parsons will be leaving Houston and joining Dallas. That was amazing to hear about from the very start. Of course, we've had Tyson Chandler rejoin the Mavs. It's been an awesome offseason. Sam, I want you to sum it up for us. What has this offseason been like? How dangerous is this team going to be?
It's been a fun offseason. We knew we had to improve at center. We knew we had to improve at the three, and we've done both. I was a kid in a candy store when we got Tyson Chandler. I was giddy like a little schoolgirl. I was so excited.
That took you back to, like, didn't you immediately, I think all Mavs fans can relate, the moment that story hit, it's almost like you thought of where you were in 2011 when we secured the title, right? I mean...
Oh, yeah, I'll never forget that moment. I was in the living room. I was actually watching it with my dad. I remember everything that happened. I got my picture taken when we won with my shaggy long hair. It was exciting times, and yeah, you go back to it. I mean, I never wanted to see Tyson leave. I never wanted to see him leave. And now that he's coming back, I'm so excited. Let's talk about that trade first. I mean, that trade is a win-win-win-win situation for me. We get Tyson back. I liked Jose, obviously. He was a great outside shooter. But as we see in this league, defense wins championships. And, Jose struggled on the defensive end. You saw in the Spurs series that Devin was taking a lot of the key minutes because of defense. And when you're trading Jose to Tyson, who has been a Defensive Player of the Year award winner, I mean, that is incredible. And let's just say worst case scenario, he's not the Tyson Chandler of old. He's lost a step, he gets hurt, whatever. He's off the books after this year, and you have that cap room freed up. So there is no downside to that trade. I am loving it so much.
Yeah, and I think that, with the interior defense, as it was last year, this will greatly help this team next year. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, Dallenberg was a presence in there, and he was a great dude, as you know. But it's tough because this just elevates us that much more. It brings the Tyson Chandler toughness to this team that was so paramount in that world title that we won in 2011. Which, by the way, is I'm gonna take you back a little bit too. For the title, I drove back from Kansas City to Dallas. I was at first, I think it's 1st and 10 in Lakewood over there by your neck of the woods, and I tell you, man, I shut the bar down that night. That was probably one of the happiest moments of my entire life, I will say. So.
It was a night none of us will ever forget, and getting Tyson back, just like you said, brought back all those memories.
Yeah, it did, and the other component is Chandler Parsons. That we got the two Chandlers going here. So Sam, I want to get your thoughts on this. 3 years, $46 million. Some have said that it was a little bit of an overpay, but based on what the Mavs' needs were, you had mentioned the necessity for a three in the starting rotation, plus the fact that, you steal somebody from Houston, to me that's awesome. And Houston have been real, it's been an unfortunate offseason, I think, for the Rockets, who thought they would get Chris Bosh, didn't get Chris Bosh, traded Jeremy Lin, and they got Trevor Ariza back, bringing him back to the Rockets, but they lose Chandler Parsons. So to me, their loss is most definitely our gain. How do you think Parsons will fit in with this team, and what do you see his role being?
He's definitely going to fit in. You said he's overpaid. Yeah, it's hard to say he's not, but you know what? There's two components to that. A, when you think, oh, we're giving him 15 million, fine, yeah, but you got to think Devin took a little hometown discount. Dirk obviously took his hometown discount. So when you think of it as, when those guys take their discounts, especially Dirk, he's doing it so you can spend the money on someone else to help him out. And that's what we did with Parsons. And if you sign him for a cheaper deal, then the Rockets are going to match. It's that simple. And I mean, I was stoked when we got him. He's a versatile guy. If you look at his stat line, it really jumps out. He fills up the box score. He's a great passer for a big man. He's a decent rebounder. Not the best, but he can pass. He can shoot, obviously. He can drive to the basket. He's very, very versatile, and he's a great fit for our offense.
I think so too. And when you look at losing Vince Carter and look at losing Calderon, a guy that can stroke the three like that is going to be awesome. I mean, 6'9", can stretch on the wing, can slash to the bucket, can pass, like you said, good court vision. I don't see this as anything but solid for this team. And this team, I mean, let's talk about this team, Sam, particularly this past season, because that was a heck of a job. Taking the San Antonio Spurs, the eventual world champions, to 7 games, almost dethroning them. To me, I put that mostly on the shoulders of Rick Carlisle. I think he's,
no doubt,
outside of Popovich, the best this game has to offer.
100%.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what this team added, and Dirk being flexible, restructuring. Wow. My question to you is, how impressed were you with this team last year when not that much was expected of them? They win 49 games, they get an 8 seed, sneak into the playoffs, and take San Antonio to the ropes. What did that show you last year?
Yeah, if you remember on our podcast last year, I thought that we would be a team that gets you 40-something wins. I just didn't know if it would be on the lower end of that spectrum or the higher end. It was on the higher end, and the other thing is the West was even tougher than I thought it would be.
Yes.
The 49 wins in the West last year is no joke. If we were in the Eastern Conference, we would have been, the number 3 seed, 4 at worst. So I was impressed with this team. Last year was a good year it was a good building block year. The year before we didn't keep any of those guys we brought in, so it's kind of a lost year. Last year was a good year. Monte showed he was a piece of the core. We kind of started to build something again, and that's what I like. And now we've added 2 more key pieces. I mean, this team is going to compete next year. This is a team that I expect to win 50-something games next year, that I will optimistically hope will make some damage in the playoffs and not just make the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's a perfect segue, Sam, because you take a look at the West, and so last year you look at the 8 seed. Next year, I'm looking at the landscape of the West. You've got, San Antonio, obviously, Oklahoma City, Portland, Clippers, Golden State, Houston, Memphis. These are all teams that are, very, very solid clubs. The West is so much stronger than the East. What is a realistic prediction right now for where this team could be next season, seeding-wise or win-wise?
That's a good question. I don't see why you can't, be optimistic about this team jumping into the top 4. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, with this team, I expect them to compete, like I said. I'm not going to say they're going to come out of the West. I'm not going to say they're going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, but I think that this team, we need to see what we do in free agency. We need to add some depth as well. Losing Vince really hurts, and with the cap, when you spend on big names, up front, or big players up front, you don't always have room to sign lesser guys. So let's see how we round out the team. I know Mo Williams has been a consideration. Hopefully we can get him for some backcourt depth, maybe sign another, front court player, hopefully another 2 guard, although we did just sign Richard Jefferson. He'll help a bit at the 2 and 3. So let's see what they do to add depth. But yeah, man, I'm going to say this team is now a 50-plus win team. This is a team that I expect and hope will, at least win a series in the playoffs, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's very, very realistic. I think now with the kind of the big 3 of Dirk and Ellis and Parsons, and Chandler, you could even extend that to 4, quite honestly. I think it's going to be a very, very exciting team to watch. When you get Rick Carlisle, a group like this, I'm not going to bet against him for against that 50-win plateau. I mean, I think that they can get over that hump this year, and hopefully they do. One thing I want to mention, Sam, and I want to mention this because I don't want it to just be overlooked, is Dirk. I mean, I think that, talk about my favorite player. I know both of us, I mean, we have very similar thoughts on this, but, restructuring the deal, taking the hometown discount, it's not about the attention or this or that with him. He just wants this team to have salary room to improve, to do, to get better, and for him to pursue that second championship. I think that, you just don't see athletes like this. I think they come around once in a generation. To me, he's one of probably my favorite athletes in Dallas pro sports history. I don't think there's any debating that for how important he has been, because you just don't see guys like this anymore. And I think that, restructuring that deal, that was just, I mean, he had said it for so long that it wasn't a surprise, but God, that was awesome, because now we're going to have the team that we have next year.
Well, yeah, actually, he was a free agent, and, obviously we all know he could have commanded a much bigger deal. He's Dirk. If he says, I want the max, he would have gotten the max.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let him go. In fact, the Rockets did offer him the max, is what Morey said, and I love that we just kind of stuck it to the Rockets when we got Parsons. I mean, like I tweeted, Daryl Morey has some explaining to do. I mean, how is he going to go to ownership and say, yeah, we could have had Chandler Parsons for pennies on the dollar next year? Literally, he was signed for under $1 million if they didn't, if they just picked up his option. But I think what he wanted to do was, instead of picking up Parsons' options for next year, he wanted to make him a restricted free agent this year so he could match any offer. I think he thought he could get a big name committed and then have Parsons as well. And he gambled and he lost. And his loss is a gain. And like you said, with Dirk taking that less money, it enabled us to offer Parsons more. And yeah, I mean, there's just not much else you can say about Dirk. He's your favorite. He's my favorite. He'll always be my favorite. I mean, I love the guy. What else can you say? We may never see another player on the Mavs like him in our generation that's so loyal. And, I mean, what else can you say, Eric?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it's real interesting, and I wanted to get into some of the things that you said about Houston, because you get into earlier in free agency when they were rumored to get Bosch, rumored for Carmelo, outside rumors for LeBron, even though we knew that wouldn't happen. Now all of a sudden it's to the point where it's like, man, let's do this thing. Let's go up against Houston right now. I'll put our guys up against them right now and not hesitate. How big of a rivalry do you think this will become, Sam? I mean, I know it's obviously one, you've got the interstate rivalry going, but you've also got the Spurs as a rival. Do you think Houston is the biggest rival right now, and did the Chandler Parsons signing have anything to do with that?
I think so. I think they're our number one rival right now, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we both went hard after Dwight last year. Obviously, yep. Houston ended up with him, and then supposedly their GM, Daryl Morey, tweeted Mark Cuban and said, hey, would you trade us Dirk now? Mark took it as a taunt. I mean, there's definitely a rivalry going, make no mistake, and I think that's, I mean, Chandler Parsons is a great player alone, but when you add that, either way, when you sign him to that offer sheet that you're going to screw Houston, it makes it that much sweeter. Either we get one of their budding young stars that they got and we pluck them, or they match and their cap space is gone. I mean, it was a win-win situation for us as far as going for Chandler Parsons. So there's definitely a little bit of a rivalry brewing. And it's fun, man. That's what makes sports so much fun.
Yeah, bring it on for next year, Houston. I'm glad that you think that, and a lot of the other Mavs fans think that, because I've loathed Houston more than any other team, city, etc., etc., etc. So.
No, you do. And man, they gutted their team. Aside from their two stars, and Beverly, they have Beverly still to go after those big fish. I mean, They got rid of Jeremy Lin. They got rid of Omar Sheik. Those are decent players in this league, and they did that to get a big fish. And they were hoping to keep Parsons, and they lost him too. And all they have to show for right now is Trevor Ariza. It's a bad offseason for them and a good one for us.
It reminds me of what we did 2 years ago, hoping to, clearing all that cap room to get a big fish, and kind of struck out on them. And yeah, I mean, bad off season for them. That said, anytime you do have Harden and Howard, you're not going to. You'll probably win more games than you'll lose. We'll definitely say that, but we'll see how it plays out next year.
Yeah, and someone tweeted last night. I think it was Tim McMahon. He said, "Wow, I'm really looking forward to next year when the Mavs and Rockets fight for Rondo. I mean, there's going to be a rivalry. We're going to.
It's not over.
It's not over, man. It's going to be fun."
Yeah, that'll be really awesome. That's something that one of the final topics I had, Sam, was the rest of the offseason. Are the Mavs done? How do you see this roster shaping out, and who are some of the names that we might be able to keep an eye on here as free agency progresses?
Well, we're pretty much out of cap space. We have a exception for I think $2.7 million left, which we were hoping Vince would take. He took a little bit of a larger deal with Memphis. Good for him. He deserves it. You might look at a guy like I already mentioned, Mo Williams getting that. We're going to use that on somebody. I think we need more shooting. A lot of people were really upset when we signed Richard Jefferson. You can't sign a roster of 15 stars, and Richard's going to sign for 1 year as a minimum salaried player. I mean, that's a pretty good minimum salaried player. If you look at his stats, he shot about 400 from three-point territory last year. I mean, that's not a decent player to be a backup.
Yeah.
So we still have some room a little bit on our roster, but don't expect any huge names. Last year we got a little surprised at the end when DeJuan Blair kind of slipped through the cracks. We got him for the minimum. You might see a guy like that's decent fall to us late in free agency, but for the most part, the core of this team is set, and we're just looking to fill it out.
Yeah, and it probably signals the end, I would think, for Sean Marion, unfortunately, wouldn't you say, Sam?
I think so. The only chance would be if he would take that $2.7 million exception, which I don't see happening. He's going to get more money and an opportunity to start with another team out there, but that's the way it goes when you try to get younger and better. You can't just bring back the same team. I love Tricks. He helped get us a championship, but you have to always try to get better. And thank you for everything, Tricks, if you're not back, and good luck next year, just like Vince. No hard feelings, good luck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Marion's jersey to hang in the rafters. Like you said, he brought us that championship. He was so crucial defensively for everybody from Tony Parker to LeBron, and he could guard just so many guys. He was so versatile for us. But like you said, it's looking forward, and he's getting up there and in age, and if we can't offer him as much as he's probably worth still right now, so that's just an unfortunate reality, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So final thing, Sam, we haven't really talked about the starting five for next year. This will be the final topic I had. How do you see the starting five shaking out next year?
Obviously, Tyson's going to start at center. You're going to have Dirk starting at the 4. Parsons is your 3. Monte Ellis is going to be your 2 guard. The only position where the starter's in doubt is point guard. As of right now, the point guards on the roster are Raymond Felton, Devin Harris, and Gal Meckel. Gal's not going to start, obviously. It's between Devin and Raymond Felton. Maybe you start Raymond Felton because Devin is better off the bench. Maybe as the year goes along, you can try starting Devin. I think that's the only spot right now that's up for debate. But overall, that's a damn good starting 5. Whoever doesn't start at point guard is going to get some decent minutes and help out the second unit. It's much improved from last year. I mean, yeah. I don't see how, as a Mavs fan, you can't be anything but really pleased how this offseason went.
I don't know if you've noticed this too, Sam, but I think Felton is just, man, he's getting blasted on these boards about, he can't play D and he's overweight, this and that. It's like, man, chill out until we actually see what goes on here. The guy's still, I think 29, 30 years old, still seems to have basketball left in him. I don't want to completely write him off. I know Devin was so crucial last year in the playoffs, but like you said, we've talked about this before. Devin Harris is a vital piece off the bench that you would love to have as a sixth, seventh man. Do you think the treatment of Felton among fans has been a little unfair to this point?
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of like I alluded to with Richard Jefferson. Anytime you acquire someone that is not a star, people go, "Why? Why did we get this guy? What is his
Right.
purpose?" I mean, you can't field a team of 15 stars. It's not realistic. When you traded for Chandler, part of the price tag of getting Tyson Chandler was that Raymond Felton was in that deal. I mean, that's the way it goes, and I mean, hope for the best. Maybe he'll be a decent contributor for us. We're not asking for the guy to be an all-star, but especially if he starts, there's going to be better players in our starting lineup. Just contribute, help out. I mean, he can be a useful piece for sure.
Yeah, hey, 10 points, 7 assists, I don't know, something like that. That wouldn't be the end of the world.
No, it wouldn't.
So I mean, we'll see how it goes. And like you said, we've covered that position with Devin Harris there. So worst case scenario, Felton flames out and we have Devin Harris there. So it could be a lot worse.
Fine. And for sure, long-term point guard is a position you're going to try to improve on. I mentioned Rondo as a potential acquisition down the line. We'll see, but you can't fix everything all at once. We did a great job this offseason improving in two positions. Last year we improved at the two, and maybe next year you improve at the one. I mean, you just gradually build a better team, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think we'll have the money and the cap space to do that. So Mark Cuban, awesome job, awesome job. So, all right, Sam, well, that's everything we had. It's going to be an exciting, exciting year next year. I can't wait for basketball to get here, especially with how bad the Rangers are. So we're hoping for really good things, and we'll have to just look forward to the upcoming NBA season. I think it's going to be a real good one.
Absolutely.
All right, Sam, thanks for joining us, and hey, man, let's do this again real soon. What do you say?
Anytime, buddy.
All right, man, take care.